highly, it's very artistic. We don't get a close-up of that.
Lovely. Impromptu.
Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here this morning. And I'm very pleased today to introduce Harry Kalofonos, who happens to be with USA Wrestling, and he's also from Greece. And this initiative that we're going to tell you about this morning is his idea. I want to thank you, Harry, for coming forward with this. It's a really exciting opportunity that we want to explain to you. You know that Colorado Springs is America's Olympic city. We're the home of the United States Olympic Committee and 22 national governing bodies, and we have a long background of great level of respect for the Olympic movement. In fact, we have what many say is the finest high-altitude Olympic training center in the world right here in Colorado Springs. And of course, this week we are watching with great affection and interest the Winter Olympics in Sochi, Russia. We've got many fine athletes from Colorado Springs over there as I speak to you this morning. The initiative I want to explain to you is a potential sister cities relationship between the city of Colorado Springs and ancient Olympia, Greece. As you all know, I believe, ancient Olympia, Greece is where the Olympics all started, which Harry will explain in more detail. And the notion of having a close sister cities relationship with the birthplace of the Olympics, to me, is just really compelling. And all of that can mean. And by the way, one of the things I've learned about ancient Olympia, Greece is that it is a relatively small town of 14,000 people, and they attract 2 million visitors a year to the birthplace of the Olympics worldwide. So you can just let your imagination run on how we could build this relationship, possibly exchanging exhibits, for example. Once this Olympic Museum is built downtown Colorado Springs, think of having a traveling exhibit here from ancient Olympia that will really be, I think, fascinating for all of our citizens and visitors to appreciate. So that's just one example of, I think, how this can work, and Harry will talk more about that. So the notion here is that our city, working with City Council, and Jill Gaber is going to be representing our City Council in this with me, partnering with me. We will work with the Colorado Springs chapter of Sister Cities International, which is our country's designated entity to help develop sister city relationships. I think there's a 2-year process we'll need to go through with ancient Olympia, Greece, as we pursue this. I just think it's an obvious matchup. We are America's Olympic city, and ancient Olympia is where it all started. And so I'm just so thankful for that. Harry, I'd like to ask you to say a few words.
Thank you for giving me this opportunity and being here today. On behalf of the International Olympic Academy that I represent, the municipality of Ancient Olympia has authorized the International Olympic Academy to be their international arm. Some of the things that people don't know about Ancient Olympia is it is in the western side of Greece. It's a fairly remote area. Most of the year it doesn't receive a lot of visitors, but during the summer season you have about 2 million visitors that come all the way from April all the way out to October. Of course, it's the ancient site there. It's in a crossroad between 2 rivers. It's a very, very small town, but it attracts so many people. Why is that? The historic significance, which was essentially revealed in the 1930s by German archaeologists at the time, kind of brought up the ancient ruins. Then in the 50s, with the help of the International Olympic Committee, the International Olympic Academy was established. This is something like let's say a small university campus that can host about 350 people. And for the past 50 years, they have been running academic sessions. They're promoting the Olympic ideas and Olympic values. Over the past 10 years, the International Olympic Academy has developed international relations with prestigious universities such as Harvard, Yale, Georgetown. Every year they do sessions. So we did an event with USA Wrestling during the summer there, and it was my first visit. Believe it or not, I'm from Greece. I'm here in the US for the past 8 years. But when I was in Greece, because it was such a remote area, I never visited Ancient Olympia. So I had to move to Colorado to go back to Ancient Olympia working for USA Wrestling. Well, during that experience, I realized that it made an obvious connection. The 2 cities just matched perfectly. The academics, the historic significance. So I had the general idea that if we had the sister city thing, not only it could be a title, but also all the people that visit the city could somehow receive exposure to Colorado Springs essentially Colorado Springs being the Olympic capital of the United States. So that's kind of how the idea formed.
Thank you, Harry. We'd be glad to answer your questions at this time.
Mr. Mayor, my question would be cost.
Well, thank you, Eric. First of all, I've offered to Colorado Springs Sister Cities International some staff support, existing staff. I'm going to ask Donna Nelson, who heads up our Spirit of the Springs initiatives, to work with Julie Smith, who's a senior communications specialist in our communications department and who has shepherded our Sister Cities relationship. I think we have 7 Sister Cities, I believe that's right now already. So there'll be some staff cost. I really anticipate that's all there might be. I've already been invited to visit ancient Olympia, Greece. I will do that as a personal expense if I'm able to go there. So I don't really see expense as a factor. If there is, it will not be taxpayer money. We'll use Spirit of the Springs proceeds from our Mayor's Cup golf tournament, which is generated from the people who play in that tournament and the sponsors. So the expense will be nominal. It's more so just building relationship. I'd love to have the mayor from Ancient Olympia here and his staff and his volunteers. They're able to manage 2 million visitors a year there in, I think, 6 months, Harry. I'd like to know how they do that successfully. But beyond that, how can we take the Olympic ideal to a higher level? And Harry touched on one of the aspects of the Olympics that is so interesting to me is the character building that goes on there. Olympic athletes not only are at the height of their sport, but they learn tremendous life skills and lessons that I think we could adapt for people throughout our city and our country. So we'll have to flesh this out with Sister Cities International over these coming months, and we'll keep informed on that, and I'm sure hold a subsequent media conference. Other questions?
I think you mentioned time. I think you said 2 years for the processed application. How long is this going to take before it does become a possibility?
Well, we need the question, of course, is how long will this process take? My understanding, and I'm new at this myself, but is that from the time that we agree with Ancient Olympia to pursue a sister city relationship, I think there's a 2-year, it's almost like a dating experience, as I understand it, Julie, from what I've read in the Sister Cities International guidebook. And so, and we can provide that to you, by the way. We have something from our city attorney's office, Cindy, that explains how this process works. And so I'm hopeful that we can establish the sister city agreement immediately within, say, 6 months, and then there'll probably be upwards of a 2-year trial period. Is it working? The reason to have a sister city relationship is if there's some commonality of interest. And there certainly is here on our part. We're going to have an Olympic museum downtown. I'm confident of that. It's going to be interactive. It's going to change frequently. We're going to have Olympic gold medal winners here at this museum. We're going to be available to not only meet and greet people, but I think also help inspire younger kids on the values of the Olympics. And to know that we could also have that kind of relationship with Olympia. How many artifacts are there, Harry? I mean, is it a warehouse, or is it a lot more than that?
There are 2 museums there, and one of the museum has, I visited during the summer, has artifacts from the ancient Olympic Games, and then the other museum is more memorabilia of the modern Olympic Games. Okay. So there's a lot of artifacts there.
And I think part of this will be having people from ancient Olympia Greece come here, and hopefully people from around the world who otherwise might not. They're going to learn about us by going to ancient Olympia. So we'll see how where it goes. I just think everything about this is a positive, and we need some positives in the city right now, don't we? So I hope you agree this is one of those. Yes, ma'am.
You described it as a dating relationship. Besides strengthening our ties with ancient Olympia, what will we be contributing as well as them contributing to us as far as culture?
Well, certainly to be able to share with ancient Olympia Greece. Jill, please join me here. I'm inviting Jill Gaber, one of our city councilors who's agreed to partner with me on this, to join us here. We got started a little early. Thanks for coming up. So the question is, what do we deliver to this relationship? First of all, I hope it will result in more people wanting to go to Greece and to ancient Olympia and learning more about what are the values that inspired that entire Olympic movement for people to want to dedicate so much of their being to excellence, to being the very best they can be. You know, I have to tell you as an aside, I wish you were here standing with us right now. We have an intern right now from the USOC. Her name is Susie Sanchez. She's from Texas, and she's training here for the 2016 Summer Games. By the way, she's I think 4 feet 9 inches tall, and if you shake her hand, just be ready, because she has a very strong grip. She is, I'm told, the finest dead weight lifter in her class or category in this country. And it's just amazing to be around her and to see her motivation and her passion for striving toward excellence, but also in helping other people, her compassion for other people. So I think what we can bring to this is, first of all, American ingenuity. How are we able to make this successful in this country? Part of this, I think, is to reach out and build a bond worldwide. And we do have sister cities all around the world, and this is just the latest and maybe the most special in this sense. And to say to people that we recognize this is a world order, that there's a global, certainly economy, and I think citizenship that we want to be part of. Would you like to comment? I get you, Colin. Anyway, Harry Kalofonos and I have just talked about what we're about to do, and I know you've agreed to step in and partner with me on this. You want to make a comment? Sure you do.
I was asked to do this yesterday, so I don't have a lot of knowledge about what this partnership could be about, but I am excited to be a part of it and to raise the awareness of Colorado Springs being an Olympic city and increase our global relationships, especially with cities that also share our Olympic tradition. So I think that's all I have to say. But thank you for.
So the modern Olympic Games, you know, they started in 1896 in Athens, Greece. They span about now 100, 120 years. But the ancient Olympic Games, they had a history of about 1,000 years, from 776 BC all the way to the Byzantine era. There is so much history, so many stories, and I think having essentially the modern capital of the Olympic movement, especially in Northern America, connect with the most ancient place of the Olympic Games, it just makes so much sense. So there's so many stories, so much history, and so much legacy to promote and inspire. And I think that's what Colorado Springs can deliver in all this.
Thank you, Gary. You know, that's I think very important. There are lessons to be learned all around us, and people to model after, and I'm sure we're going to learn about a lot of those ancient Olympians and why they chose to enter that sport that they did, and how they were able to get through what they had to win, and the trials and tribulations. We all make mistakes, we all have shortcomings, but if we never give up, if we keep trying, we can all succeed in some way or another. I have to tell you one more story about the Susie Sanchez, and I would like to have her at a future media conference. I'm talking about our intern here, who's an Olympic athlete, and I think he's going to win a gold medal in 2016 in dead weightlifting. She's 4 feet 9. She's much bigger than that in her spirit, certainly her capability. But so we took Susie Sanchez with us to Centennial Grade School in southeast Colorado Springs recently. We went there to honor that school for its tremendous progress in helping those students do better. It's been awarded some state honors. Increased its test scores so well, and so we went there, my wife Susie and I, to do that, and we took Susie Sanchez with us, and we were in the gymnasium, and I don't know, there were 200 or 300 youngsters sitting there, and I just thought at the spur of the moment to ask Susie to say a few words to them of encouragement, and she gave the most eloquent, I don't know, 5-minute speech to those kids, and their eyes were this big, and it just inspiring to hear her speak. And as hard as life is, as difficult as it is, as many bumps in the roads as there are, it's helpful to have positive people like Susie Sanchez who re-encourage us. And the final point of that story is, so she finished this impassioned speech. She got a standing ovation, and the kids sat back down, and I said, well, are there any questions for any of us up here? And so this little girl in the second row, eyes as big as a saucer, raised her hand. She said, I don't have a question, I have a comment. I think she's in 4th grade. She said, I want to be just like Susie Sanchez. And I think that makes the point. That the Olympics are about not just sport and winning, but about fellowship, relationships, coming together as people, not just in a single country, but around the world. Hope that's not too sappy for you, but I do think there's a value in that. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
I have a question for Harris. Could you talk about the ancient ruins in Olympia and just how exciting it was for USA Wrestling to be part of an actual sports competition that was held there last summer?
Yeah, the ancient ruins, again, it's a fairly big site. So you have the ancient stadium, you have, there's several temples, then you have the wrestling, we call it palestra, which is, it's a fairly big real estate portion of the thing. But one of the really remarkable things that the ancient Greeks did there, they created for the time, a modern, I would say, saunas, they had baths, they had their swimming pool, which is a 2,000-year-old swimming pool, is in the shape of a flower, which still remains to this day, literally a daisy. Of course, the rivers were nearby, so they had warm water. So I think it's very impressive to see not only the actual sport venues, but to see also the facilities that they provided to the athletes. So it was very, very impressive to see that, and thinking that, you know, it's more than 2,000 years old.
Eric.
This is a side note, this isn't about the Olympics, but it is about champions. Michael Sam recently came out that he would be possibly most open gay player in the NFL. My question would be, recently Denver's mayor came out with a "You Can Play" video saying it doesn't matter who you are, doesn't matter race, gender, creed, etc. How do you feel about that, and would you consider, since we are going to be the city for champions, to do something like that?
Well, first of all, and I've said this, Eric, I believe, several times, we are one family, in my view. At the end of the day, we're all brothers and sisters, and everyone's welcome in Colorado Springs. And I've tried to express that in my actions. I don't sign proclamations. City Council has taken on that. But I've tried to show in my actions that I respect and appreciate everybody in this community from every walk of life. And I totally believe that. As to establishing some specific, whatever Mayor Hancock is doing, I'm not aware of that, but I think our actions need to speak louder than our words, honestly. You know, we, as of now, we have in our healthcare program in the city of Colorado Springs, we have domestic partner insurance opportunities for people. So whether they're heterosexual or same-sex, it doesn't matter to me. We're following the policy of other jurisdictions in the state, for example, that if people document that they have a special relationship and are living together, then the city employee is able to have that other person on insurance that the employee helps pay for. I think that's an action, I think, that speaks louder than words. So, but clearly, to your point, part of this is Olympic athletes come in all shapes and sizes and orientations. Doesn't make any difference. They're all champions to me. Other questions? Do you have a comment on that or anything else? She's had a full. What time did you get home last night? You were there till midnight last night?
I could answer.
All right, we need to change that. All right, thank you for being here. I appreciate it, and we're available for one-on-ones if you want to, and we have a copy of my letter to the City Council that gives you more details. Appreciate you coming out. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry.
Actually, I'm sorry. I have one more question, and this is for Councilmember Ginkler. In the past, both the executive and legislative branch here, you guys have had your disagreements. Would you say that this international partnership is just one step closer coming together in unison here?
I think that there are a lot of examples between the executive and legislative branches that show a partnership. I think we tend to focus on the areas of conflict, but this is just one in a line of a lot of different kinds of partnerships that we actually do share. So, but yes, it can only help.
Since you bring it up, on City for Champions, I'm told by the attorneys that based on the Regional Tourism Act that Colorado passed and based on our application to the state for that grant that's been awarded, that technically the Mayor of Colorado Springs has authority to stand up a advisory board reporting to the state and also to sign an agreement with the state. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing anything unilaterally there. I've asked City Council President Keith King to co-chair that group with me, as well as El Paso County Chair Dennis Heisey, and we're involving Merv Bennett, City Council President Pro Tem, and Amy Lathan, the County Chair, Vice Chair. And I hope all the councilors will be involved in various working groups as we get further into this. So I know there's some controversy out there over City for Champions. I want to say again, I support it in concept, subject to getting comfortable along with you and everybody else on all the details. The devil is in the details. It's going to take months to work through it. There are no tax increases involved in this. I will not support any tax increases for City for Champions. If we were to borrow any money as a city to be repaid out of the general fund, which I don't believe is going to happen, I would ask City Council to have the voters decide on that. So there's a lot a lot of commotion out there on it, a lot of noise out there on this. I just hope we could all kind of get off that level and get down to, let's roll up our sleeves and work through the issues. I want City Council clearly to be comfortable with this. And so we'll work together on that and on this, and I think we'll find other things to do together. And I really appreciate Councilmember Gabler taking such a strong leadership role and wanting to build a bond with the executive branch. We just spoke, was it yesterday or Monday? I can't remember now. You called me, Jill, and wanted to talk through some things, and that means a lot to me. And you know, I need to get better. We all need to get better in our relationships, I think, in life, and I think you and I are pledged to do that. Anything else? Thank you so much for being here.